Hey everybody, welcome to Fit Tip Tuesday. Today I'm going to be talking about the difference between a waist dart and a pleat. To start the conversation, I'm going to show you what a basic trouser draft looks like. Then I'm going to show you the difference between what a waist dart does to fabric and what a pleat does to fabric. Then we're going to look at how pleats are drafted and some of the various ways they shape the front leg. And then finally, I'm going to share a couple other YouTubers who are doing tutorials on the top-down, center-out method. So hang with me to the end because this is a episode full of fun and excitement in pants fitting. All right, so you can see in front of me here, I think this is really fun to look at a sample of a draft. So basically I did a mini trouser draft and I want to sort of explain to you what's happening here. When you draft pants or trousers or jeans, you start with the full hip measurement and you add ease. So that defines the width of the pattern at its widest part. And what you end up doing is you end up making rectangles that are that width of the full hip plus ease. I'm just going to dash in or draw the original rectangles that I'm talking about here so you can see. So I'm just going to highlight them in black. So this is the start of the draft. You make your rectangle. The rectangle is the length of the pattern from side seam at the waist to the hem. So that's the center line right here. And then you're basically splitting your rectangle into two smaller rectangles that are equal in width. Because, fun fact, when you draft pants or skirts, usually you start with the full hip width being the same front and back. So that's how you ended up with these two rectangles that I just highlighted for you. The next step is to establish where your full hip is or how far it is from the top of your rectangle. The top of your rectangle is going to be the waist. So then you draw in your full hip, which is this line right here. And then you draw your crotch level. And there are different formulas to decide how much lower it is from your full hip. But basically, that's your crotch level. And then you decide where your knee is going to be. So this is my knee level. And then you have your hem level. So all the vertical components of this pattern are drafted. So one of the big things you do when you draft pants is you create the shape of the waist by using some shaping at the center back and center front edges. You create hip curves, and you also create darts. And what those things do is reduce the full hip plus ease measurement to the waist measurement. So every designer will have their specific size table they're working with or measurement chart. So I'm not going to get into specific measurements here, but basically the waist edge starts out to be equal to the full hip, and it's reduced by those things. So how much are you going to angle your center back seam, for example? Or how much are you going to angle your center front seam? And then are you going to have one back waist dart? Are you going to have two back waist darts? And you may have a waist dart in the front as well. That's very common in trousers because they're a looser fitting pant with lots of ease and flow to the fabric. So after that's decided, the crotch extensions are decided. So again, that can be a variety of actual percentages of, a percentage of what the crotch level measurement is. But basically, those are extended out from the rectangle. So after you've decided the crotch extensions, then you can draw in the rest of your pattern. So you can draw from the tip of the crotch up to the waist. You can establish the crotch shape and rise in the back, the front crotch shape and rise. You can establish your inseam shapes here and your side seam shapes. Okay, so that's basically the simplistic version of looking at a trouser draft. I shaded in these two areas in pink because if you notice, this is the center, this was the center back line and this was the center front over here. So the fabric from center front to inseam, that's what's really wrapping around the inseam or the inside of your leg. So I just shaded that pink so you can kind of see that that's what's wrapping around and connecting to, connecting the front and back at the crotch wedges. All right, so I just think it's fun to look at this. So I traced this back and front leg onto white muslin so I can show you what the waist darts are doing to the flat piece of fabric. Remember, we are asking a flat piece of fabric to conform to your curves and your shape. So darts are used to create shape for a curve. So in the back, it would be your butt. So let me show you here. So what I want to show you is, if I lay it flat and kind of let it do its thing, you can see that it creates a curve at the center back or the middle of the back leg to make room for your butt. Now, it also directs the fabric. So the position and length and size of these darts are all decisions the designer made to create the shape. And basically the goal for a waist dart is for it to end before it approaches the fullest part of your butt. Because if it goes past the fullest part of your butt, it's going to pucker, or it's going to like do a funny thing because it's directing the fullest part of the shape it's making and it's below the fullest part. So you do want to make sure your darts are, they approach the fullest part of your butt and then taper at the tip there. But you can see, I'll just turn it so you can see. So see what it's doing? It's creating that shape. Some trouser patterns also have a dart in the front. Usually front darts are a little bit shorter and maybe not as much taken out there. So that's why typically, if I bring back my draft, typically the hip curve in the front is curvier than the back because the measurement needs to be reduced and the dart is usually smaller. So usually the hip curve is curvier in the front than it is in the back, but that's not always the case. Remember, there's a million ways to draft a pants pattern, so I'm just sharing with you some basic ideas here. Now, another thing that can be on a trouser pattern or a pants pattern is pleats in the front. And I just want to show you what a pattern looks like if it has pleats, like when you purchase a pattern with pleats. Typically, when you purchase, or if you're working with a pattern that has pleats, the pleats are going to be marked by double lines. So you pleat one line to its neighbor, and that creates the pleat. Here is something that's super important. You want to pay real close attention on the actual angle of these lines, because a pleat can be directed a number of different ways. And what's different about a waist dart and a pleat is the direction the fabric is going underneath a pleat is extending. It could extend all the way to the hem, whereas a waist dart shapes your butt, and it may add and direct the fabric a little bit farther than that, but it's limited because of the way it was created. The waist dart was created to get rid of extra ease in the back waist and in the front waist. It wasn't created by adding extra to the draft. So just to remind you here, these waist darts were created to take up all the extra room in the full hip plus ease measurement you use to define the width of the pattern. A pleat is different. This front draft, it's drafted, but I could add a pleat to it. So if I were designing a pattern with a front pleat or front pleats, I would first draft it like this, and then I would convert my dart into a pleat. So let me show you what that looks like. It's a little messy, I'm sorry. I just wanted to show you and sort of dash the whole shape of the pleat. But my point in this example is the pleat, this pleat was built right off of the waist dart in the draft, and the pleat goes all the way down to the center of the hem in the front leg. And then there's a second dart. That pleat, you can see as well, comes down and meets here at the hem of the pant. Now, no ease was added to the hem. It was pivoted, but basically you can see extra ease was added to the entire leg. And the reason why I mentioned earlier, it's super important to pay attention to the angle of your guidelines to fold your pleats is because they might not be straight and parallel to each other. They might be angled off to the side or angled in towards the center, because that's how the designer created those pleats. So for example, see these blue lines, the pleats don't have to meet down here. They can be anywhere. They can go off in any direction. So you could have a pleat that starts at the waist dart at the top and goes off towards the inseam, and you can have another one that goes off towards the side seam. So in that case, notice that my lines would be more angled like this, right? So it would be, you know, angled because those pleats are directing the fabric down the leg. Now here's another thing. A pleat does not have to go all the way to the hem. The designer might decide, I'm going to create a pleat that stops at the knee. So all of the extra fabric I'm building into the pattern stops at the knee. So the way this one works is it's slashed from the waist to the knee and then off to the side seam, and it's pivoted. So this whole outer section is just pivoted out to open up that pleat, and this one's pivoted this way to open up the pleat. So you can see that in this case, you'll end up with fullness from the waist down to the knee, and then it will taper back down because there was no extra fabric added to the hem. So I just think this is fascinating, and I'm working with the assembly line high-waisted pleated trousers because I don't have a pleated trouser in my collection yet. I think I'm going to be designing one though, because I'm really enjoying playing with working with this. I'm working on my top-down center-out method, playing with fitting that, and I've gotten really, really good results. I'll share those with you another day. I'm also going to be working with one of my very fitted jean patterns because I want to see what the top-down center-out method will deliver when you're working with a pattern that doesn't have ease on the leg. And I'm super excited about it. Now, having said those two things, I want you to know that I think the top-down center-out method is a very valuable tool or fitting method to add to your toolbox because it gives you the opportunity to balance the front and back leg and get the crotch and inseam and the hem all in position before you start working on, fitting the side seam and so on and so forth. So I'm very excited about it. And I want to tell you there are 2 other YouTubers that are doing videos on top-down center-out method, and I want to share those with you because I think the more you can see, the quicker you'll learn it. And I also think that everybody has a different way of presenting material, and I think that they do a wonderful job as well. So Janine Sews did a couple videos showing her pants patterns, what she did to adjust them, and then her finished pants, and they came out beautiful. So you can watch her walking around in her finished pants. And then the Crooked Hem is started her channel to share this method, and she is so lovely, and she's doing such a nice job. She's following along with Ruth's Instagram, and all the information Ruth has on her Instagram. So if you really want more step by step and have it broken down in a chronological order, head over and see what she's doing. I'm going to put links to both her channels below this video so you can check them out. Because I think, you know, there's just something to learn from everybody, and I'm all about, you know, community and sharing and all that good stuff. So I hope you guys, you know, go over there and give them some love. And if you're on Instagram, remember to check Ruth Collins' Instagram. It's Ithaca Maven. I'll put a link to that below this video as well. That way you can poke around and see all of the information she has in her archive stories, which there's so much information there. So definitely check out all of those resources. If you have any questions or comments about waist darts and pleats, please post them below and I will help you with that. Next week I will be working on something else in this series. Just so you know, I'm also adding 2 more things to sort of try to make my channel a little bit more navigating easy. I'm going to be making my best effort to put every video I have in a playlist. So if you're trying to follow along with something, or if you're looking for a certain topic, it'll be in a playlist. I'm also doing shorts. So look for my little short videos, because they are 60 seconds of one little idea, and sometimes that's all you need to figure out what you're trying to do. So those are 2 things I've done to update my channel. I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you Friday for another FabFit Friday. We'll be fitting our bodices with sleeves. So thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.